Since the release of our investigation, the ground beneath this case has started to move. And what's rising to the surface? It changes everything. Daniel Martell has spoken out again, this time with more assertion of his innocence. He confirmed he took a polygraph test and claims the RCMP asked him flat out, "Did you kill them?" He said no, and the test said he told the truth.
I know the truth. I didn't kill Lily and Jack.
It's been 6 weeks now since you've seen Lily and Jack. I just want to ask, how are you holding up?
It's been a long 6 weeks. I know that everybody basically in the world at this point is always wanting to know like what happened. It's been from sadness to anger at this point. And I know the RCMP and major crimes are working around the clock trying to piece everything together, and I'm grateful for that. But it always leaves the question, 6 weeks has gone by, and we know at this point they're not in the woods. And where are they?
He goes on to claim that he'd offered his electronic devices and to do drug testing as well, not seeming all that surprised that he was likely considered a suspect early in the investigation.
Did you feel in the beginning that they suspected you?
Of course. The stepfather was always a prime suspect right off the beginning.
You felt that from the beginning?
Yeah.
But you don't feel that now?
No, I don't feel that at all. I asked for the lie detector exam, the polygraph exam. I gave them my phone. I told them I do drug tests because there's a lot of rumors online about a drug party. Mm-hmm. I know the person that said those rumors, and it was just to take the heat off themselves.
Was there any kind of party?
No.
Was there any kind of gathering that someone might have thought was a party?
No.
There were no people at the house?
No. Not the night before.
He describes the process and results of the polygraph tests.
Okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test?
Yeah.
Did the RCMP take you up on that?
Yes, it did.
And how did that unfold?
That unfolded in my favor. They obviously know I wasn't lying about anything.
So they said, yep, great, thank you, come in for a polygraph test.
Yeah, it took a little while to set up. And
when did you do that test?
I don't know the exact date, but that would be at least 3 weeks ago, probably.
So roughly 3 weeks after the disappearance.
Yeah.
And I think most Canadians wouldn't have any idea what's involved with that. Can you describe the process? You go in and just tell us right from the start.
We go in, sit down in a big comfy chair, and they have multiple sensory pads. You have them underneath your forearms, you have them underneath your butt, and you have them underneath your feet with your shoes off. You have a sweat gland on one finger. You have a measuring instrument for blood flow that goes in and out of your hand. And you have a cuff on your arm for blood pressure to measure your pulse.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lily and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you?
Yeah. Yeah.
This would be an awfully painful question to be asked for any loving and innocent parents of missing children, but Daniel, clearing his name and eliminating himself as a suspect as soon as possible, would have been very important so that the RCMP would continue their search and pursuing other leads.
What went through your mind when someone's asking you that question so point blank like that?
Your mind has a massive release of chemicals, I guess you would call them. It's like your stress levels just astronomically through the roof, and your body doesn't know what to do because it's not every day the way you're hooked up to machines in an interrogation room where someone asks you questions like that.
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? They were all.
So all of the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive?
Yeah.
There were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could they be somewhere?
No.
This was somewhat negligent on the part of the interviewer to only be pursuing a line of questioning pertaining to if Daniel had taken their lives and not simply taken them somewhere. It isn't all that rare for a parent to abduct their own children and to be holding them captive elsewhere. Whether on the property or at another location would have also been important questions to ask. Also, if he had any knowledge of them being taken elsewhere, but to be so sure they're no longer with us may very well be hindering the investigation.
The police have done a number of polygraph tests. They've done 53 formal interviews. Do you know who these people are?
Yeah.
That's a lot of interviews.
It is a lot of interviews. A lot of them are my family, people that live in the area. And those interviews, typically, my interview was 4 hours. And a lot of the interviews from my family were 1, 2 hours. So there's a lot of time taken up and they ask detailed questions.
Do you know who else actually took a polygraph test?
I mean, I do, but I'm not going to say anything that's going to impede the investigation.
Okay. When did you find out the result of your test?
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job, you passed.
And how did that feel?
Good.
And did you feel that there was any further suspicion on you after that point, or was that sort of conclusive?
That was really when I seen the turning point for it's starting to taper off with investigators.
Do you know if Malaya has taken one?
I don't know if I can say it, but I will anyway. Yes, she did take one.
Okay, she took one. Do you know the result?
No. RCMP weren't allowed to tell me I asked.
I'd be curious to know whether or not she'd had the same line of questioning in the very least.
You said you feel like everyone in the world wants to know what happened to Lily and Jack.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think this is getting so much attention?
Well, just the mysterious and nature of everything and how strange everything is. The RCMP, you know, I mean, they have to keep a tight lip on everything, but there's a lot more that meets the eye with the case.
Is there something that you think the public doesn't know that you can share that you want the public to know?
That's a hard one because I don't want to impede the investigation in any way. It is still a missing persons investigation. It hasn't pivoted to any type of criminal investigation. But the kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before the disappearance in the afternoon.
Where was that?
I don't know if I can say that, but it was near the Highland Square Mall.
Was it with you?
It was with me, Malaya, and Meadow, and Lilly and Jack were there too.
And are the police aware of that?
The police were aware of that since.
Do they have that video?
Yes, they do.
It definitely helps the case to dispel any rumors or hearsay. To my understanding, prior to this update, the last known sighting was gathered from the trail cam footage near their home.
I also talked to my coworker in the parking lot as well, and he verified that with investigators as well. So, for all the speculation, they were gone days ahead of time, or they were seen the afternoon on camera before the disappearance.
Why do you think the police are asking for video dating back, days before that?
Well, the reason for that is they want to see the traffic of the vehicles on the roads in the area, right? Maybe vehicles that were traveling that area a lot over the last few days prior to hand, or vehicles that, weren't seen in the area, or vehicles that were seen in the area, like local people that are, making frequent trips past the house, or which it's all considered evidence. I mean, the more pictures and videos is the better.
They say they have hundreds of hours of video.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if they've found anything on those videos?
I think it was up to 2 weeks ago, they had footage that they examined for evidence that was 8 kilometers diameter out from the house. So that was after a month. That's how long it took to get footage and review it 8 kilometers out.
But
So
what's on the video?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm only limited by what they tell me.
How often are they in touch with you?
Investigators now, I'd say maybe once every 5 days. And usually I'm the one who calls or messages them.
And how's that changed over the course of the 6 weeks?
Well, from the beginning, it was almost daily, tapering off to where it's only like once every 5 days now.
And how do you feel about that?
It's good. It's good and bad. I mean, I like to talk to them in person about any little small details I come up with or anything I can try to bring to their attention, which may help the investigation. So I don't get to see them often, so it's always over phone or messaging, and it's hard to really convey what you want to say when you're not in person. But then I also know the eye's not on me. The investigators don't see me as part of the disappearance.
How do you know that?
Well, when you're going from daily to tapering off every 5 days, I mean, I already gave them everything on my phone. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. We'll go through all my banking information. We'll go through all my stuff on my GPS from Google.
And you were offering all that up, right?
Yeah, I offered everything
And why were you doing that?
to show them that I want to get the investigation moving. I know I have nothing to do with any of it.
Maleha left the county almost right away after her one and only media interview. This may have given her time to clear anything incriminating from her devices or to have gotten a new phone and selectively transferred old data.
A lot of speculation is you killed the kids. Let's come out and say it straight as it is.
What do you think when you read that?
It's a lot of nonsense, obviously. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lilly and Jack. And I just think a lot of people online they're seeking drama. That's the main thing. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, like I said before, but it's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. Still haven't got to see any of my kids, including Lilly and Jack. And that's been really tough, going from a family of 7, including my other 2 kids that live in Halifax now. Going from a family of 7 in the blink of an eye, your family's ripped apart and you're left alone.
In this next interview, Jack and Lily's paternal grandmother is finally speaking out, clearing up rumors about her son, the biological father, Cody Sullivan, and expressing her grief for her grandchildren who are still missing and may no longer be with us. Whether taken by the elements and animals in the woods or by some sick predator, the pain this family must be feeling is insurmountable.
My heart tells me these babies are gone. My heart tells me that. I am the grandmother of Lilly and Jack. I am the grandmother on the biological father's side. My son is Cody Sullivan. He's not in jail. He's never been out west. He does not have a criminal record. And right now he's living with me. He has been for 9 months.
How did you find out that Lilly and Jack were missing?
The mom of my grandson called me. We were in town. She asked if I heard the news. She sent me the article that was on Facebook showing the kids missing. I couldn't call Malay yet, so I waited till we got home. And I called, well, I didn't call her, I texted her. And she told me that, yes, that the kids were missing, that they've been missing since this morning. I was in a state of panic, shock. But in the back of my mind, I kept saying, well, they'll find them. I mean, I'm assuming that they'd find them. So I told her, well, we'll head out first thing in the morning and help with the search.
Like their mother Maleha, their biological father has remained silent, which doesn't necessarily mean they aren't cooperating with law enforcement, but certainly has onlookers questioning why that is. Their non-blood stepfather, having the most involvement as it stands, isn't helping them in the court of public opinion, but that doesn't mean they aren't making an equal effort behind the scenes.
It was around 3, between 3 and 3:30 in the morning. A couple of cop cars pull into the driveway. The lights wake me up. That I'm a fairly light sleeper, so I see the cars pull in, so I knew what it was. So they come inside. They only stood in the kitchen. They wanted me to wake Cody up, and they wanted to know when was the last time he had seen the kids, and that they were just making sure that the kids weren't here. And then they left. So we showed up Saturday morning, me and my sister, and we met up with my daughter, and we started, well, I asked Malaya, I said, Malaya, I said, you know your kids. Nobody knows their kids like their mom. Where do your kids normally go to play out in the yard? What direction do they usually like to explore? And she said, well, they always play up in the little woods right on the side. I said, well, okay. I said, we'll start from that point and we'll work our way out. We had spoken to a search and rescue, and we weren't allowed on the other side because that's where they were searching at the time. So we just started combing through the woods up through there. We were gone for a couple of hours. I'm yelling for Lily and Jack. We always call Jack Jackie Boy. And yeah, that went on for a few hours, but those woods, I started to feel that I can't see them being in the woods. There's trees everywhere. You literally have to climb over trees, climb under bushes. It is really, really thick. We come back out, and I went in to see Malaya again. I assumed she was in shock. She was very non-emotional. Very just flat, monotone. But Malaya's very soft-spoken anyway. That she's not usually excitable. I thought that's made her a really great mom. She was an excellent mom. She never raised her kid or voice at the kids. That it was always, now Lily, what did mommy say? And I used to think, now if anybody's meant to be a mom, it was her. A part of me still feels that.
Why only a part of you still feels that? What do you mean?
After seeing the place, seeing the condition of the home, it was like the total opposite of what I knew of Malaya. She was always clean, very clean about herself, about the kids, about her home. This home looked more like a camp. Now, I don't know if it's from all the people that were there, because I didn't show up till the day after. But it was very unkempt. I was pretty surprised.
Some have speculated that this was why CPS had been involved in the past, due to the condition of the home, trying to determine if it was a safe place for small children to be raised.
I love you.
Lily is, she was my little dream girl, the first granddaughter. And I loved that she had the brown hair, and she had a space between her teeth, which I had when I was a kid. So yeah, she was our little princess. Jack was such a sober, serious little baby that he didn't like to smile. You could tickle him, and he would look at you ever so serious, like he was really studying you.
And so how long were your son and Malaya together?
3.5 years, I think it was, yeah. I thought they were the picture-perfect family. Then Malaya started to tell me that they were having problems and she wasn't happy. She told me that she wasn't happy and she thinks she's going to leave. And I told her that we supported whatever she decides, that one good parent is way better than 2 broken ones.
And then how did that change your relationship with Lily and Jack?
I thought it was going to change, but it didn't. Yeah, it didn't change. Malaya, she was a sweetheart. Anytime we wanted to see the kids, she'd come by for a visit. She'd bring them by all the time. It was actually really, really good.
So when was the last time you saw the children?
1.5 years, almost, really. It's about 1 year and 9 months.
How did you deal with that?
Really, to be honest, maybe I didn't deal good enough with it. I looked at the fact that when her and my son separated, my son walked away. He chose to walk away. That she wanted sole custody of the kids. So she petitioned the courts for sole custody, and when she did that, he said he was done.
This, of course, gives us a bit more insight in the earlier years of Jack and Lily's lives, but a lot can change in a year or two. Presumably, after the birth of Daniel and Maleha's daughter, Meadow, more distance was put between the children and their Sullivan family.
Were you ever formally questioned?
Yes.
So then it's about a month after Lily and Jack are last seen that they come and formally question you.
So it's about 3 weeks. They questioned Cody for an hour and a half in the vehicle, and then they questioned me for 2 hours in the vehicle.
How did that feel to you?
I didn't mind. I mean, to me, I expected I'm the grandmother, so it wasn't a surprise to me. I'm assuming the sooner they do all that, I wish they would have done it sooner, that the sooner they can move on. So I didn't have a problem. My son was a little upset about it. He said they made him feel like he did something wrong, and he said he hadn't seen the kids in 3 years. So he was a little upset about it, that he said that they really come at him hard. They wanted to know what her favorite color was, and he said, they were babies when I seen them last. He said, she was just learning what she wanted to figure out to eat. I don't know what her color is. So yeah, he was pretty upset.
Have they ever talked to him again since then?
A couple of days ago, they had contact, and they told him that they weren't looking his way anymore, that everything was fine.
And have they ever given you any information?
No, it's always the same thing.
Which is what?
They've got everybody on it. They are looking at all avenues. They can't divulge any information that could compromise their investigation. It's the exact same words.
Having not seen his own children for nearly 3 years, it really makes you wonder why. Why would he not have fought for visitations? Why had Maleha put so much distance between them, or what really happened to cause such distance?
Why are you so sure they're not in the woods?
I have children. I have grandchildren. And I see what kids are like through the woods. There's no reason for any child to wander deep into the woods. There's just not. I think somebody hurt these kids. I think somebody hurt them.
You don't sound very hopeful.
No. Our last day searching on Monday and seeing the woods and seeing the searchers and everybody everywhere. There's no way those kids are in the woods. There is nothing more pure and innocent than a 6 and a 4-year-old. And they deserve so much better than what they got.
Although both Daniel and their paternal grandmother do not believe their children are somewhere in the woods, this search team member seems to believe they very well could be, even after scouring the rugged terrain for weeks, and there being no evidence found.
Do you think those kids are in the woods?
From everything I've seen, yes. We got the first call shortly after 11 on Friday morning on the 2nd that there was 2 children lost up here in Lansdowne, and we just deployed the team and got here as fast as we could.
And when you got that first call, did anything stand out about that first call as unique or unusual? Or?
It's not common to have 2 lost subjects in that kind of scenario, so with kids like that, it's not common to have the 2. It's not uncommon, so a pair of hikers is overdue or something like that, but with kids it is a little uncommon to have one missing.
I still find it hard to believe the pair just wandered off into the woods alone, especially since the dogs weren't able to pick up any scent beyond the main property line. Everything suggests they were taken off that property by vehicle, but by whom is the question.
Have you found anything?
The only thing that we had was the boot prints that everybody, and we still cannot 100% say that they belong to the children, but that was pretty much the only thing that we had.
You think they're in the woods?
I have not been told anything to lead me to any other conclusion.
Why can't you find them?
They're small, they'd be hiding. They would have crawled underneath something probably when they got tired. They could have gone further than what we searched. There's all kinds of scenarios, unfortunately.
Be that as it may, it would be very unlikely for them to have made it further than the parameters of their search, and again, with absolutely no sign or items left behind along the way. We do need to consider all possibilities, continue searching the woods and spreading awareness in surrounding areas, but logically speaking, without sheer determination, it would be quite a rarity. I suppose there is some chance that maybe, since they hadn't seen their father in quite some time, and if there were problems in the house between Maleha and Daniel, as has been rumored in leaked messages, that perhaps they were wandering off to try and find their biological father and grandmother. This is obviously pure speculation, but what else would make two small children wander off like that, if that is what happened?
So we're on Lansdowne Road. It was in one of the areas that was searched extensively, as you can tell from like the flagging tape in the woods. So when teams are tasked, they get a bearing or a waypoint or both for where they're to start. So they come down into the woods and they'll tie a ribbon so they know where their start point is. And then they start on their compass bearing into the woods. As you can see another flag. So this is where they were going straight into the woods. So they're following their bearing, putting their flag line down and searching at the same time, coming up through all of this stuff.
How much of this is down because of Fiona?
A lot of this is down because of Fiona, and some of it could have come down after the fact, but the vast majority of it was probably from Fiona. So grid searching comes in different types. So we have type 1, type 2, and type 3. A type 1 is fairly open. So if we're looking more for signs of travel or say larger objects, so if we know they have a backpack or something like that, we can space people out, 10, 20 meters apart. And especially if we think somebody's going to be responsive, so they're going to talk to us when they're calling to us, we'll do open. We were doing closed grid or type 2, so teams were very close together because we were expecting children to be hiding. A lot of children that age range will hide. So if we're 20 meters apart in some of these woods, you can't see 2 feet away from you. Like there would be places where teams would be almost able to touch their fingertips together and they couldn't actually see each other through the bushes. It's that thick in places.
So how does this compare to what your teams have been dealing with?
This is actually fairly mild compared to some of the areas.
Mild. It looks like such a mess.
It does look like a mess, and you got the thorn bushes and the deadfalls, but there's places that are actually a lot worse. But there are places that are a little bit better as well.
Mm-hmm. But what would be worse?
A lot more deadfall. You can get places where it's just deadfall on top of deadfall on top of deadfall, and you literally have to crawl underneath of it or climb over top of it.
You were also saying, though, to the general public, don't come help us. Why did you say that?
We don't want the general public in the area because we use a lot of very specialized assets like canines that are looking for the freshest human scent they can find. So if we have somebody from the public go through an area and we don't know, but we were deliberately waiting to send a canine into that area, that canine could get on the track from that person, and then we've just wasted that resource because once that dog's probably done its track, they're probably exhausted and can't go out and do anything else. And same as drones, if we're flying a drone over the area and we get a heat signature from somebody in an area and we can't identify who or what it is, then we have to send GSAR resources in or police resources to confirm who that is. And in the same breath, a lot of it comes down to training. So our people are trained to look for the little things, the footprints, the pieces of clothing that are discarded, the broken branches, spots where somebody might have crawled in underneath something and had a nap or something like that. So they're very clue sensitive is what we call it. They're clue finders. So we're not just looking for the 2 children. We're looking for all the evidence of them going through the area.
Everything she just explained only further highlights the unlikelihood that they traversed that same woods and gotten very far without leaving any scent or signs. I wouldn't want to cast any doubt on those who are working to help find those kids, but my gut tells me they've been taken far beyond those woods.
So when the boot print was found, we told the team just to send us the coordinates. We got a picture. Yeah, it looks like a children's rubber boot print, which is what we were looking for. Conversed with the incident commander. Yeah, we're going to send. We sent an RCMP canine in. first. Then we sent human tracking teams, so like man trackers. So we have some members that have been trained to do tracking themselves. We sent them in and we did some grid searching in the area to see, just to follow up. And then the RCMP forensics unit went in and did actually a cast of the boot print. We did investigate a few wells and mine shafts. The teams came across them in the woods, so they would look in them as best they could. There was one mine shaft we actually ended up flying a drone into to see if there was any sign of anything going in there, because it wasn't safe to send the people in. And there was no sign of any disturbance or anything inside the mine shaft. So I know they're still doing investigation. Anytime a tip comes in, they follow right up on it. So,
Do you feel it's been searched as well as it can be searched?
what has been searched very well. Very extensive. With over 12,000 hours put in on the search. It's pretty much unheard of in this province.
To have conducted one of the largest searches in Canadian history and still not finding any clues or evidence makes it even harder to believe they're still somewhere in that forest and had not been transported elsewhere. If anything, these updates are leaving us with more new questions than answers.
All searches are hard unless we have a good ending, obviously, but some hit closer to home than others do. There was members that couldn't bring themselves to call the names, but other people on the team were, so it wasn't impeding the search effort, but because of personal reasons, they couldn't actually physically call for the names themselves.
They just couldn't say the words.
They couldn't get it out for whatever reason they had. And there was people coming to the end of it that, whether it was physically, they were just exhausted, or mentally exhausted, that couldn't return to the search area as well. So we saw a little bit lower numbers on some of the revisit searches that we did with some of the teams.
For that first weekend search, after, the searches scaled back on May 7th,
Yeah.
what were you told when you got that call? Like, why were you going back?
It was actually a conversation. I was meeting with major crimes on a regular basis, going through the paperwork from the search and showing them what was covered and what wasn't covered. And it was actually a conversation had between us that, yeah, there's some areas that we would like to go in and get covered off, either better or new areas that we said, well, there's a possibility, so we want to just go search those areas as well. So it's not uncommon for us to go back to a search if we haven't found something.
What prompted then the second weekend search?
Basically the same thing, just more areas that we really wanted to see get covered and just expand out on what we had done.
So just to be clear, it was not as a result of new information?
It was not, no.
I think it gave some people in the public hope.
Yes.
Like, oh, maybe they found something there in that area they're looking. It wasn't that.
It was not. So it was just that we wanted to extend out our search area and cover off areas. Most of these people, they're all volunteers. They just want to find the kids and bring them home. So they're more than willing to keep coming back and keep searching. Unfortunately, at this point, unless something comes up, we're probably not going to be back. But that being said, somebody could find something that brings us back. Children just bring out the best in people when we're in a situation like this. Everybody just wants to come and do everything they can.
Police are now offering an up to $150,000 reward for any information that may lead to the safe return of Jack and Lily. But after nearly 2 months, people have begun to lose hope they'll be found alive, or at all. All we can do is try to have faith, because sometimes miracles do happen.
The province of Nova Scotia is offering a reward of up to $150,000 for any information relating to the 2 siblings who were reported missing last month. 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan were reported missing from their home on May 2nd in Lansdowne Station in Pictou County. In a brief phone call today, the children's maternal grandmother told Global News the family's focus is on finding Lilly and Jack, and they hope this reward will help. Premier Tim Houston says he's also hoping for the safe return of the children. Nova Scotia's Justice Minister says the province is doing everything they can to support the RCMP in the investigation.
Everyone's obviously still hoping for the safe return of the children. It's a really difficult thing. The whole community is feeling that emotion. So I know there's been a tremendous effort and response to try to find them, and the response continues. And we're all just hoping for the safe response.
We appreciate the work of the investigators, the RCMP, and others who responded in the early days and as the case has unfolded. to support the search and now the investigation. We really appreciate the work that they've been doing, and we want to do everything we can to support that.
And Druin says while she can't speak to specifics, rewards like this from the province have generated information for previous cases, and she hopes it does the same for this one.
Come along with me as I review more unsolved cases and bizarre mysteries. Like and share this for those who still believe in coincidence, and don't forget to subscribe, because the truth doesn't knock twice.